welcome to another episode of Muscle Matters. I'm here with the world, the one, the only, the famous John L. from Kick for Kids. So tonight's episode is going to be on kicks. We both have a very much a love for kicks. Hope you guys have a shoe fetish. Stick around. See you soon. Sir, you're about my age on when we hit this. You might be a couple years younger, maybe a decade, but you were from the Sometimes I Dream He Is Me, Michael Jordan's Gatorade, right?
Yes.
So I put a brief story out a while ago on one of the social media pages about my love for shoes and how I remember having the first pair of Nikes, like legitimately. My mom hooked me up with a pair of brand new Nikes, like the Magic Johnson Air commercial where Magic was like, what kind of shoes are those? So I remember having my first pair of Nikes and hating them.
What?
Hated them because you grew up in LA. Nobody wore Nikes. It was I need some seashells. It was I wanted Converse because everybody wore Converse. Everybody wore Converse. Magic Johnson, Larry. And do you remember LA Gear? You may not be old enough to remember
LA Gear started.
But LA Gear was the Lakers' official shoe for 2 years.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
I got beat up in school for having it.
It originally was a skateboard shoe. It was a skater shoe. I remember I wanted a pair of Vans because I used to go to the skate park. And my mom was cool enough to drive me out to the valley to go to the skate park. You can't skate in the inner city, so I go out there. So she brought me home these Nikes, and I remember trying to destroy them.
What were they?
They looked like the Cortezes, but they were solid leather. And they were a running shoe. Remember, he was a runner originally.
Yeah.
So it looked like a Nike Adidas Superstar. But it was solid leather. Yeah. With a swoosh. Mm-hmm. So think of a bigger, bulkier, low top blazer.
But thicker sole though.
Bruh, I tried to destroy that shoe. Dragging it behind. I hated that shoe. Mm-hmm. I wore a hole in the bottom of that shoe before I tore up the leather. Man, too bad Nike doesn't work like that anymore. No. So that was my first experience with a Nike shoe. Then and then I grew up in the Killer Jordan era where you get killed for your Jordans. You had to be very careful where you wore your Jordans at. I mean, that was a real thing. You got killed for wearing J's. They would steal them right off your feet. The Spike Lee era when
what's crazy about that era? It was. They weren't even reselling back then.
No,
It just you couldn't get them, and everybody wanted them, and then it was just ignorant people out there man. Unfortunately, they saw you with them, and they needed them.
You were getting got, yeah. Like I said, I remember the 3. Mm-hmm. The 3 was my favorite. So
you're a 3 guy.
Yeah, 3 was my favorite. I remember that's when he took off from the free throw line.
Yeah.
I was there from the whole Jordan, the transfer from Magic and Bird over to Mike taking over the league. I remember when Mike was just a high flyer. He just put up mad points, and we fell in love. My generation fell in love with Michael originally because it was him and
Pistons,
Dominique.
Isaiah. Oh yeah, him.
And they would go back and forth at the dunk contest. So yeah, I didn't really like the 1.
He didn't even like the 1.
And the 1 would just sit on shelves.
But not no more.
Yeah.
But I liked them, the 1s, the 3s. I like the 4s. I even like the 5s. Yeah, I know, right?
The 5s fall apart the easiest.
They do fall apart the easiest. And I think where I fell in love with them, man, I saw Jordan too. I saw him play too. I saw how electrifying he was, how he spoke in the pre-games and after post-game interviews, how they talked about him. If you don't piss Mike off, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, I want that. And I was like, from a kid from inner city, looking at that. Like,
I look at Nike commercials now. So once again, I grew up with Mars. Well, Spike Lee had the Mars character, and that those Jordan commercials were just
Different.
It was crazy. Could you imagine if Bo Jackson hadn't blew out his hip? Bo's commercials were better than Mike's.
Yeah.
Bo's commercials were better than Mike's. Bo knows, and those were some commercials.
What's that actor? Oh, he stepped on his force. He said, hey, and he stopped and he was sitting on the
that was from Do the Right Thing. That was Do the Right Thing. Do the Right Thing. Those were the Cement Force.
Yeah.
That's why the Cement 4 was such a popular shoe from the Do the Right Thing. Nike nobody has done what Nike has done.
Mm-hmm.
Snatching up. So I mean, they snatched up everybody back in the day.
Yeah.
Their ad campaigns, they took the world by storm. I have to really give it to them.
I think one of my favorite non-Jordan shoe, Nike shoe of all time, non-Jordan shoe, is the gloves.
There is GPs.
Yeah.
GPs. I'm a Bo Jackson fan, so if it's not a Jordan, it's a Bo. I've got a closet full of Bows.
Man, I've been trying to find me a size 12 Nike glove GPs.
GP didn't get the push because he didn't.
That shoe was amazing.
He was like Isaiah. They just didn't.
I got a pair of those shoes donated to me. I was a group one, right? So
was that your first love child?
First love child. It was a used and beat up boy, but I put toothpaste to that thing with a brush. We one of the staff took my allowance and went and bought the black shoe. That thick old shoe.
So you're like me. You had to clean your shoe.
Yes. I had to make it look new. Yes. You know what I mean? Because the grip was already gone. I'm hooping in it again. I'm thinking, well, I fell in love with shoes and Nike and things of that nature because I was like, oh, this is my way out.
Yeah, well, it was it's somewhere or another.
If you were an athlete back in those days, a shoe deal meant something.
I remember my yes, I remember my how would I say this? My desire for a shoe collection came from my uncle. I remember being a kid, and I probably was somewhere between 7 and 11, somewhere in there. I couldn't tell you exactly when, but it's right in that time frame. And my uncle had about 12, 13 pair of shoes. And growing up, it was one shoe you got to wear to school and one shoe you got to beat up in.
Yeah.
And when the beat up shoe was too beat up, you got to take that shoe, that school pair, and move it to the beat up pair, and that shoe better last all year.
No,
shoe better no matter
if you grow or nothing.
Mama, my feet don't fit in here. Oh well, you ain't getting another pair of shoes. And we didn't get shoes like you guys do. I remember looking at my uncle, and he's the one who taught, like, where you were breaking out. You made me think about that, breaking out the toothpaste, cleaning your shoes. He's the one who taught me how to clean my shoes. And I was like, Uncle, I want shoes like you. I want to have a bunch of shoes. And he said, boy, when your foot stops growing and you learn how to take care of your shoes, you can have shoes like these. And he pulled up a pair of shoes, and they were Adidas. What was the cat that played tennis for Adidas? Not Arthur Ashes.
That's where I was going to go.
They're not Arthur Ashes. They're a different pair. And there was, because Adidas used to rule the world. And
the Run DMC shell toes.
Yes.
Those still a classic. I feel like I'm cheating if I throw my foot in them.
And he had those shoes. I bought those shoes literally years later in the same color, just because I desired those shoes as a kid. Yeah. And he said, boy, I've had these since high school. And at the time, my uncle would have been in his 30s, or late 20s, 30s, like 20 years. Yeah, he'd been in his late 20s, early 30s. And he said, I've had these shoes in high school. You just have to learn how to take care of them. And I was like, I don't know. And he taught me how to take the laces out, bleach my laces, wash my laces, scrub my shoe. Man.
Shoes matter.
I make shoe contact before eye contact.
Oh, come on now. And it's a confidence, like, building point. Unfortunately, why I say unfortunately, because we should have that already in us, right?
Yes.
But I mean, especially today's world, I'm in the school districts. I see these kids, and I'm like, the kid that I see that's kind of timid, man, I try to throw that kid in the most brightest, exclusive shoes ever. There's no way this kid can be timid no more. Right? He's getting the attention. And why it matters so much to us, because we didn't have it.
Yes.
And it's so much right now that these kids do have it, but there's a demographic out there, a population out there that don't have it, and it's just It's crazy.
How do you feel about the resale game?
I don't hate it, but sometimes I'm disappointed by it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel they just suck up everything for the average person, average kid to actually get the shoe. And now they're making it where now the shoe is reasonable, right? Dunks are very reasonable right now.
Do you remember when Dunks were the Jordan Lights? Are you old enough to remember when they were Jordan Lights? You would get hit up for Big Five for $50.
Yeah. Right. So now you take the shoe that the kid can get.
Yes.
Now you can get it.
What, like the Air Force Ones? It's a weird to me. You grew up where Air Force Ones were kind of like the swap meet Nike, and now the Air Force One is a high brand Nike.
Actually, when I was, let me see, I was supposed to be in high school. Another show.
Yeah. I was supposed to be in high school too. My mom found that out.
And the Air Force came back with that song Nelly.
Yes.
And then everybody needed 2 pair.
Yes. But like I said, Air Forces were the swap meet Nike.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, bro, you can afford that. I remember because I grew up and, we capped on each other. We called it bagging back then. Oh, bro, you can afford to get the Jordan Jumpman on the shoe?
No, not whatsoever. I understand it, man. I understand it way too well, man. So like the sneaker community has changed too.
Yes.
Right. Now there's some people that are like us, love the shoe because of the history, because it take us to a memory. Not just a bad memory, but like I watched Jordan play in them playoffs, right? I watched the flu game, right? Like I was a kid that was like, I mean, like you said, like with me, I'm in group home, right? I'm like, oh, all I gotta do is do this. I just gotta give everything I got on this court. I can end up like this. I can change, So like it inspires. And nowadays it just turned into a consumer.
Yeah. Let's talk about the passion of shoes. You remember being a young man, you're on your own, you've got your
first paycheck,
and you are out there with 4 or 5 of your buddies living in a 2-bedroom apartment and still like wanting Jordan. Remember, I mean, let me hijack this real quick. Remember, they didn't do retro Jordans. They were done. Mike was like
they were still producing, but there was nothing that he didn't bring
them back. Yeah. What would you say that about 2004, 5, 6 is when they started going? We're going to reintroduce Nike.
2002, I believe.
Where they started bringing them back out, and they realized they caught wind because they weren't selling anymore. The anything after 14,
Team Jordans weren't selling.
Anything after 14 was kind of like
what's going on? Yeah.
But remember being a young man and you've got a paycheck now, but then you have to decide, do I eat food or do I get a pair of J's?
I starved. I made a mistake one time per check. I blew it on some shoes.
I remember the ones I blew mine on. It was the black and gray 9s. And I had those and I was so proud of those. Were my first J's I paid for by myself. I was so proud of them. Had them in my box. My cousin asked to borrow them. I was like, all right, cool. I'll let you borrow them. He went and hooped in them and tore them up. I was so mad. I was like, he thought they were like that when I got them. I said, no, they weren't. I wore them twice.
You and that family member. Oh, man, I had a cousin. Every time he came around, he wanted to throw his feet in some shit. I'm like, no, boy.
I learned once. After that, he's like, nah, you can wear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're like me. You probably have a huge collection. How do you feel as an adult with that huge collection? Is it like a lot of people ask me, and I say, for me, the shoes are a culture. The shoes are something that as a young man growing up, I couldn't get. And so it's almost like being able to relive my youth again, buying these shoes.
Healthy, mind you.
Yeah. And it's just a way of like, okay, I've got that shoe because that image that Nike put out there that where you had to have it, but you couldn't get it. Then if you had a pair, you couldn't wear it to the party because you can get socked in the back of the head and lose your shoes. So as an adult, how do you justify your Nike spending? Because I know you got probably the same problem that I do when it's talking about those new shoes, huh?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. How I justify it? Well, I don't really justify it. I do got some shoes. I do got a lot of them, and it do seem. I agree with everything you're saying, and I still feel young at heart. I still want to look how I feel, right? And not just young, but just that confidence level.
Now,
and nothing says it better than a fresh pair.
Now, do you build the shoe around the fit, or do you build the fit around the shoe?
You build it around the shoe.
Okay, that's why people I like. As soon as I start pulling clothes out, I'm like, I know which pair.
Yeah,
I know which pair that goes with this. Or you shopping for a shirt and you're already like, yeah, okay.
I had a pair of shoes. This is gonna sound bad. Oh man, I had a pair of shoes for about a year. I put them on, but in the house. But I had them on for a year. I never wore them out.
Which ones?
There were some Dunks. They were crazy color. The Crimsons. Right. Oh no, the Cedars. Right. You know, it has the darker tan, reddish brown, charcoal gray.
Dunks fold up real easy.
Yeah, and that purple swoosh.
Yeah.
So like you just had to get the right fit. Right? It took a year to find a shirt to match with that. You know?
So you have kicks for kids.
Yes.
We're gonna come back to that in a second. So I buy kicks for my kids.
Yes.
And I laugh when I see my nephew. I buy him a pair of kicks. Now my nephew's got the bug. He's got the bug. He's the one who.
My daughter has it.
And then my youngest GB, he's got the bug too, but he's just not old enough to learn how to take care of shoes. But my nephew's got the bug, and I see him walking, and he'll be duck walking, trying not to crease his shoes. Yeah. He's like, he told me, Papu, I need crease guards, I need crease protectors. So
those things hurt.
Yes, and that's what I told him. I said, I got a pair, and they only sit inside my Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah,
because the Dunks just crease up so easy. So I have them inside my Ben and Jerry's. So with your kids, so I want you guys to really pay attention going forward. We're going to talk about his organization, and we've had fun talking about shoes. Now, explain to everybody exactly what Kicks are Kids for. I mean, you've done it before on other shows, so let's talk about it a little bit more so people can understand, you know, your passion for shoes and how we talked about being young and not being able to have shoes, get shoes. And so now you were a group home kid, and now your Kicks for Kids are redonating to the group homes, correct? Group homes, foster youth. I mean, just underprivileged, disenfranchised youth. When you say I had a large collection, like, the collection grows up and down because I'm always handing out, you know. Yeah. Even especially a kid that wears my size, he's like, I like those. We'll throw them on their feet. But we go get shoes, brand new pair of the retros you were talking about from 1 through 14, because that's all I'm getting. You get me? Those are the only retros that matter. Yes. Anything I can say 1 through 14, anything after that? Those are the only ones. 17s, if you like when he came out for the Wizards. But we give away the shoes the kids desire, not because of anything else, but just to help start the conversation and the rebuilding of confidence. I was going to say, because it's I've gone through periods of my life with raggedy shoes, and it's not a good feel when you walk. I mean, with a dirty pair of shoes, or talking, or especially when you know that those aren't your play shoes; those are your own shoes. You know, hey, come to church on Sunday with us. You know, we're gonna pretend the bus by, and your brain's telling you like, nah, man, I can't go. You know, because we've been raised and taught that you have to look a certain way to go to church, which we know that ain't true. But kids think that. So when you do that, now gonna speed it up a little bit because we'll talk a little bit more. What can people do to help you out? If you want to help me out by blessing kids with some confidence, and you have a means of doing so, you can DM us and just ask some questions. But I'm gonna tell you on here, if you want to buy, because we have a big shoe giveaway coming up in the next month, and we got to get, if the trend stays the same, we're gonna go past
we might hit like a little bit close to 3,000 kids this year or plus with some shoes. And man, like we just need extra help because that's a huge.
You're up to 3,000 kids that you're donating to.
That's a lot of funds we got to raise in the next month and a half.
Now, can they? You know, a lot of people get funny style when it comes to like, I don't want to send money.
I know that's what I was getting at. You buy a shoe, the average shoe size that we're seeing outside of our athletes, right?
Yeah.
Are a 7th youth to about like a 9.5 men. Any Nike, and if I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be picky, right? Because we don't want to bless these kids with shoes that they're not gonna feel good about themselves. Yes. We want to bless them with the things that you'll bless your own kids with. Like I don't give nothing to a kid I won't put on my own kid feet.
Yes.
So man, if you can bless them with any Dunk, if you load Jordan 1s, if you want to make it economic friendly to you guys, that would be great.
Yes.
DM me if you're local here in Bakersfield. I'll pick it up from you.
Now you just did something this weekend at the park.
Union.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So
that was from donations for Kicks for Kids that allowed you to do this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we had a couple of people believe in the vision. So we're in schools. And there's a couple schools here locally that are impacted of an area, a section of Bakersfield, with human trafficking, prostitution, all this. And we do this, I collaborate with the school. We was involved with this walking school bus. So we show these city representatives and politicians and everyone who has the power to do something, to do it. We go pick up the kids and walk them. So we're picking up kids in the hotels. They don't call them homeless no more. They say displaced. So you ever hear displaced youth, that means they're homeless. We pick them up and we're walking them. And the laws change here in California around indecent exposure. So a person, male or female, all they need to have is a sticker over private parts, basically. And no lie, we pick up kids, walk them by, and there's a person with just stickers. You can't harass. So our goal, there was a bigger goal. It's a part of a campaign called Love Bakersfield. But my goal with this specific event was target some of our representatives for the policy to help change this. So it's more than just a shoe now. It's how can we not just be complainers and preaching and like sitting on sidelines and just pointing our fingers. So we drafted up a policy we put in front of a couple of our city representatives that said, hey, if you want our voice, because we have influence in the community, this is something we want. It's a safe, we call it a safe zone, safe space for a good section of town from 21st Street to let's say to Ming or Casa Loma, where in this area is mimicking some policies they have up north around Fort Gaines. So if you have any convictions with human trafficking, soliciting, paying for any of these type of services, it doesn't matter about the law about indecent exposure, harassment, or anything. If you have any convictions here, our agencies, our local law enforcement agencies can talk to you or potentially arrest you and force you to move.
Okay, and that's to get them away from the kids.
Get them away from the kids,
and that's generally.
This is all within, Steve, about 1,000 feet.
I was gonna say because
of a school.
Like when you say
that's overpopulated.
Well, you got the displaced youth, so there's
from pre-K to 5th grade.
So these kids are in these situations where these people are living amongst them. So you guys are pretty much what was the things they did in New York with the beanies back in the day? But yeah, you guys are pretty much them for the youth. You're going out there making what you said. It's with the Panther Party originally started out as you're taking the kids and you're walking them to school. You're making sure they get.
Crazy to say that because I've been praying. I was like, God, I mean, I know we about to anger both sides, the people who are dwelling in this area, expertise, and those in the halls of power, because it can affect both, right?
But the thing is, I like what you're doing because a lot of times the politicians, and I'm gonna get political real quick. A lot of times politicians like to hold certain demographic of people to a vote without doing anything for it. I
hate that, and then I noticed this when we go to these schools to when they bring us in for mentoring or after school program. First thing they say, we have a problem with African American population, and it pisses me off.
So you're bringing power back to the vote by going, if you want our votes, which should have been doing for years instead of freely giving it away. If you want our votes, protect our kids.
Protect our kids.
And the only reason you have problem with these kids
is because they don't have no hope. Because they got to walk through that. They got to walk through someone who's probably about, if they're a fifth grader, probably like 8 years, 9 years older than them. Not too much older than them. Could be their older sister. Have to sell herself or being subjugated to sell herself. And then you want this kid to behave.
Because mama can't do it no more. My daddy can't do it no more. So they're gonna pass it down. You got to do it now. Yeah, it's real. I mean, I'm not gonna paint a sob story. It's a bigger truth. But what you guys are doing is great for the community. So a lot of people out there, they like to say that they're looking for how would I word this correctly? They're looking for God to put a burden on their heart.
Man, the scripture said, hey, you do it to the least of them, you done it to me. I don't know much else of a burden or a desire you need on your heart.
When the burden is right there in the community.
Yeah.
Because you're looking somewhere else, and you've got this group, Kicks for Kids, that are literally going into the community, helping kids to get to school, helping kids get through these communities, holding politicians accountable for a vote. I mean, that is power in itself. And this crazy thing is, so much of the dynamic skips over because they want to go help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the community's broke. It's just they want to go somewhere else and do it. Mm-hmm. They've given up on the youth where the youth is the next generation. You guys should look into open trade schools. I mean,
that's crazy you say. So the next vision I've been having consistently now is schools. We need open, because I'm tired of hearing the complaints. It's like, all right, then God, is this you telling me we need to show them what a school looks like?
Like trade schools, a lot of people don't understand. Think about it like this: when you were growing up, you said, "Oh, I got to get a pair. I got to be an athlete to get out."
Mm-hmm.
So it was an athlete, a singer, or you sewed D. That's how you got out the neighborhood.
And I messed up. And
now think about it: if you had known a plumber makes $250,000 a year.
Yeah, they took plumbing out of school.
If you know a welder makes $250,000 a year. If you knew you could have been a male nurse making $250,000 a year, not to mention you get to meet little honeys all the time. I mean, there are jobs that we consider in the neighborhood square jobs because it's a job.
Yes.
When in all actuality, that job is making you $250,000 a year.
Yes.
And what a trade school does, the trade school allows you to be what this country hates, your own business. You can open your own business. When I go
or help if you don't want to run your own business or help build the business with someone.
Yes, when you go put your application in and they turn you down, you're like, bro, I know how to weld. I'll go weld over here, and you make enough money. Next thing you know, you got a rig, and you're your own contractor. I mean, that, and I hate to fall back to the Panther community, but that's what they were originally doing. They had trade schools. And I think when you say schools, we get caught up in higher education when I think there should be trade schools. These young men and women, they come out of high school with a trade that they know how to bro, I don't got to go work for anybody. You can't say that I got my own job. I create my own, I'm creating my own generational wealth. I got a group of friends where they're black linemen.
Yeah.
And that is their core. They're black linemen. And it's a whole group of them. And they make sure and they pull up the next generation. I mean, things like that.
And we need programs like that, but we need this is for the believers who are going to be watching this. We need you guys, the believers, stop saying all the Christianese things. The Bible's clear. What you do unto the least, you do unto him. Colin's there. Colin's been there. Just get active.
If nothing else, start a prayer chain.
Man, yeah, because prayer. Oh my Lord, we need. If you ever pray diligently, because what comes with doing any ministry, from handing out a pair of shoes, I have to check myself.
Well, think about it, because you're going to the neighborhood.
Oh my God,
with the whole truck.
No, not even that. What I'm saying, what I see, could be depressing. It's hard. It's like reliving all the bad memories that you had that you don't want to deal with over and over and over again, and knowing that, dang, there's a kid out there like me going through it still. We ain't did not, and it forces me to be like, okay, we got to get at it. I don't know what I got to do, but I got to do it. So I start reading. I start training myself. I start doing these little, man, it's crazy. There's free courses online, probably from Ivy League schools that you don't even know about. Like, I'm taking a free course at around communication from Harvard. It gives you a certificate.
Okay.
And it's free.
Yes. And that's what I
teach, you know what I mean?
That's what I went back to that conversation about schools, is we get so caught up in school, traditional school, and giving money back, when, hey, there's things out there where you can go, I mean, golly, they don't even teach you how to balance your checkbook. So make sure you take care of Kicks for Kids. It's a really great program. I really wanted to go into it really quick with Janelle. Let you guys know this, so we started this off with shoes. So what is your prize collection in your shoe closet?
Oh, my holy grail?
Yes.
Oh my God, Steve, why'd you do this? Oh man, don't judge me, guys. I have the black toe Union Jordan 1s.
Those are it, huh?
Yeah, right now.
Those are the ones where you went like this. I got them all.
When I first,
you had your Pokemon, like that completed my collection.
No, there's a shoe still out there that I have not.
Which one's going to complete your collection?
I want not the 85s. I want the shoe, because there ain't that many of them. The ones he actually played in.
Oh, you wanted a pair of authentic shoes he wore on the court.
But because they changed the
toenail in there and everything.
But they changed the sole on
it.
Oh my God.
Hey, Michael, if somebody knows Jordan, tell him to send him some musty shoes.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Jordan. Hey.
If you can donate it to Kicks for Kids, you can put it in the office. Michael Jordan signed the game worn shoes for Kicks for Kids. I promise you he's not going to auction them off.
Watching this and knows Jordan, connect us.
Now, hey, I got a crazy question. Have you reached out to Shaquille O'Neal?
I have not, actually, and he does a lot of great things. Since you brought up his name,
yes, he owns Reebok now.
I know, and all the Iversons.
Yes, and that might be something you might.
And that girl too, Angela Reese, her shoe. Yeah. I know her signature shoe probably gonna go crazy.
Yeah, so I would just say reach out to somebody like Shaq in his office, because I tell the kids all the time, especially athletes with like 15, 16, 17-inch foots where they are 15 size, and I'm like, bruh, I ain't got nobody to help you out. I'm always tell them, call Shaq. Send a message to his PR team that, man, he will get you a pair of shoes.
He does a lot.
He takes care of athletes. So so maybe we skip Mike, because he's stingy like Scrooge, and we go straight to Shaq. And
yeah, I heard the stories.
He ain't somebody you want to go to dinner with, because he's going to pay his $9.99 for the check and leave you. Well,
that's your pretty face.
Janelle, let them know a little bit more about the different organizations, where to find you.
So I run a charity here that we talked about in this podcast about JCW Kicks for Kids. You can reach us on Facebook, on Instagram at JCW Kicks for Kids. I also run young adult ministry. So
I saw those shirts and clothes you got. I've been meaning to get me some shorts.
Yes. A young adult ministry. You just graduated high school up to the age of 25. We meet every Friday. Doors open at 6:30 at the Westchester Hall. This crazy thing is, man, these young people are hungry. We aren't. Me and Christina and Paul, those will help me pour into this, nourish this ministry. Our goal is not to make seat warmers. So if you want to get active, you want to be challenged, and it's not going to be by us. We're just going to read the scriptures, and we're going to go after and try to do it.
Okay. All right. Give us your Instagram.
The family_YA.
Okay, and the other one is the JC for Kicks.
JCW Kicks for Kids.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much for enjoying us, sitting here with us on Muscle Matters. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, stay blessed.
Yeah.